Lyrics of the Lost.
Hey, welcome back for a new year of taking pop lyrics very, very seriously. Special thanks to Bob Geldof for giving us a thumbs up on the last episode. That was nice.
Yeah, considering how critical we were.
Yeah, we're not saying he necessarily heard it, but, thumbs up. That's good. And also, way previously, the Crash Test Dummies gave us the thumbs up for their episode as well.
Yeah.
So thanks, lads.
As Canadians are nice.
Canadians are nice, that's right. They're renowned for it.
Yes.
Other artists have been a bit quiet. But to be fair, some of them died years ago. and they are missed, thumbs and all. They live on forever through their music, which is good. But our artists for today are still kicking, and kicking it disco style, because episode 35 is this!
I want to take me to Funkytown.
Funkytown by Lips Inc. in 1979 or 1980, depending which webpage you want to believe. Yeah.
Yes, this is exciting. This is our first foray into the disco genres from what I can remember.
Ooh, well, I think we did touch on the Bee Gees at one point.
True.
Tragedy. That was it.
Yeah, that's disco. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, written by Steven Greenberg and sung, not lip-synced, by lead singer Cynthia Johnson. Yes.
But sometimes lip-synced by Doris D.
Yes, there's some music videos that are a bit controversial. We'll have to get into that a bit later. Lots of instrumental breaks in the original version, though, and lots of lyric repetition. It's freaking 8 minutes long, this song. That's Stairway to Heaven length. Bohemian Rhapsody's a minute less.
Wow, hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah, and there's not many lyrics here.
That's true.
And when they run out towards the middle of the song, they just start from the beginning again. There's no music video for this original, but there are 2 later cut-down edits, as you mentioned. One just under 4 minutes and another one just under 3, both with simple but different music videos so they could get on the MTV shows.
Yeah.
And these have much less of the instrumental sections. The 3-minute version, it just fades out at a really odd point.
Look, I might have to make a confession here. I don't think I actually listened to the full 8-minute version. I listened to whatever was on YouTube, which I think might have been the 4-minute version.
Oh, they're all on YouTube.
Oh, but even then they seem to sing all the lyrics again, so maybe I did listen to the full one.
Yeah, they've cut out mostly the instrumental stuff to get most of the time savings. But yeah, I think the 4-minute one manages to get through all the lyrics still twice.
Twice, yes.
But the 3-minute one just starts to get back into the beginning lyrics and then just fades out. Very strange.
They just got bored quickly.
That's right. But let's go back to the original and let's go
to the lyrics.
And insert jingle.
Words. What do they mean? And meanings. Could there be more? To the lyrics.
I checked worldwide on Google Maps, and I can confirm, sadly, there is no town called Funkytown. Certainly a few businesses with that name, like bars, nightclubs, Funkytown Auto Parts, but no actual town.
Although,
yes,
Fort Worth, Texas often self-identifies as Funkytown.
I did read that somewhere, and
yes,
I couldn't work out exactly why they'd called it that. Was it something to do with the military? Had a nickname for it for some reason?
Well, I've saw a couple of different versions of that. It might have started as a radio promotion for a series of blues concerts, and they were trying to encourage people from all over North Texas to come.
Right.
So it was, come down to Fort Worth, Funkytown for the blues concerts.
And that stuck?
I think they made it stick.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
But I also saw somebody say that it was due to the meatworks in Fort Worth making the town smell funky.
Ah, yes, that definition, yeah. Yeah, but not an official name, just a nickname, yeah.
Yeah.
So it could be that Funkytown is a fictional town, or it's a real town that has the quality of being sufficiently funky to make it a funky town.
Yes.
Yes, we should make sure we're on firm ground here by defining the word funky, which will then inform the kind of town that Cynthia is singing so passionately about.
Indeed.
I found the Collins Dictionary. Its first definition for funky is to be stylish and modern in an unconventional way.
Yep.
Fair enough. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary, its first definition for funky is having an offensive odor, foul, as in a funky smell. Yeah, and then its second definition, still in Merriam-Webster, is having the style and feeling of older African-American music, such as blues or gospel, or especially characterized by rhythmic elements similar to those of funk, being the African-American music genre of the mid-60s, which was a more rhythmic, danceable form of music.
Yes.
And apparently the name funk for that genre and funky was adopted because of its other meaning of smelliness and body odor, which symbolized a return to the passion-laden, physical, down-to-earth reality of this new music. Yes.
So a bit sort of sweaty, greasy.
Yeah, it's music with some
hot, steamy,
with some real human stank on it.
Yeah. Ew. Yeah.
The last dictionary I came across, the American Heritage Dictionary, their first definition for funky was that it means frightened or panicky, which I'd never heard before. But in fact, I'd heard that to be in a funk, if you look that up, it is to be sad or depressed.
Yes.
Yeah.
But do people say I'm feeling funky? I mean, they might if they're James Brown, but
certainly.
Would they say it if they're feeling depressed? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't hang out in America enough to have heard anything like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, we quickly discover in this song that Funkytown is a very desirable place to be. So bearing those definitions in mind, Funkytown is maybe a stylish, modern, and unconventional town. That sounds nice.
Yep.
Although modern styles in architecture, they often don't age well, so maybe not so desirable. Who knows?
Yeah, true.
Or Funkytown could be a town that's a bit whiffy, smells funky, as you say.
Yeah, which might be attractive if you work in waste management services.
Oh, yeah.
You'd like to move in and help solve their stinkiness problem. That could be quite lucrative.
Or you might be making it more stinky by adding a lot of landfill near the town.
Well, that's true.
If you're in that business.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound so desirable, but that could easily apply to some lovely towns in New Zealand, like Rotorua. That's a very funky smelling town.
Yes.
Smells like rotten eggs due to the many hot springs and sulfur and volcanic activity.
Yeah.
But you do get used to it. You get used to it, don't you?
Well, kind of. I live quite close to a town called Coffs Harbour on the New South Wales mid-north coast.
Yes.
I would say a few years ago, Coffs Harbour could lay claim to being a very funky town due to a dead humpback whale.
Oh, wow.
That washed up on the beach. And nobody really knew what to do with the body. They couldn't tow it back out to sea because it would only wash up somewhere else and it would attract sharks. Blowing it up wasn't really an option. There's a YouTube video where somebody tries to do that and you can see why.
Oh, I have seen that. But
yeah. So
don't they do that naturally in the end anyway? They inflate so much with their own noxious gases that they eventually burst.
Well, yeah, so they ended up taking it to the local green waste processing facility, which is like an industrial-sized composter to decompose. And on warm, windy days, the smell as you entered Coffs Harbour was quite remarkable.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How would you describe that smell?
I would describe it as funky.
Okay, perfect then. But not like it's not a fish, so does it still smell fishy or... I don't know. It's been soaked in briny salt water for its whole life.
Yeah. I mean, think of what a small amount of rotting animal flesh smells like and then make that smell whale-sized.
Okay, yeah. If I imagine a small possum in the ceiling that's died, I've encountered that before.
Imagine a whale in your ceiling.
Yikes. Yeah.
Very funky.
And I was going to say, actually, a town here near me in Sydney, Lane Cove, that was a very desirable area, very, very green. But there was a maize processing plant in one part that smelled like when you had a big bowl of cornflakes and an hour later you burp. And that whole area smelled like that burp.
Yeah, it was sort of attractive and sort of revolting.
Yeah. I mean, it's not always bad to have a bit of industry in your town because there can be some opportunities for employment and other economic opportunities which might be desirable. Although if there's too much business, that might make people feel funky, as in anxiety, fear, and panic or depression.
Yes.
Yes, that sort of funky town. Not desirable.
Yeah.
Unless you're part of the 1%, overworking your employees and living in luxury and because you're underpaying them, etc. And lastly, Funkytown might just be full of funk genre music and studios and performance venues, like Nashville is to country music or Seattle was to grunge. So, we better keep all these possibilities in mind as we go through the lyrics, beginning with...
Yes.
Gotta make a move to a town that's right for me. Yeah, right away, we know that Cynthia's current town is not right for her. She's not happy with it.
It's an intriguing first line. It prompts, I think, many questions.
It jumps you right into the action there.
It does.
Well, she clarifies further next with a town to keep me moving, keep me groovin' with some energy. So she wants to move to a town that also keeps her moving, which is pretty intense. The last thing I want to do after moving house is to do more moving.
Yes, that's true.
I need like a couple of weeks to recover. That's what I need.
Yeah.
Cynthia's obviously got a lot of stamina, and she's not looking to settle down. Even when she finds the right town, it's got to keep her moving. And then next we have... Well, I talk about it, talk about it, talk about it, talk about it. That's a lot of talk about it.
Yes.
Yes. Talk about, move in. So she admits she's been talking about moving for quite some time, but obviously she just hasn't done anything to make it happen.
Yes. No, that is an issue.
It sounds a bit pathetic, doesn't it?
Well, it does. Yeah.
That's all she ever talks about, moving. And it seems like in the next line, she's psyching herself up to do it.
Gotta move on.
Gotta move on, gotta move on, gotta move on. Like, come on, Cynthia, you can do it.
Yeah.
We're all wishing you Godspeed. But what do we get next?
I want to take me to Funkytown.
Won't you take me to Funkytown? Oh, Cynthia, so disappointing. She can't do it.
Yeah.
Somebody take me, I can't do it.
Yep.
Well, let me tell you, Cynthia, Funkytown is not for people like you. Funkytown is not right for you. You're meant to stay right where you are, stagnating and apathetic. You are not worthy of Funkytown. If people like Cynthia move to Funkytown, it won't be funky. Cynthia is not moving or grooving with some energy, despite what she says. How can a new town keep her moving and grooving with some energy when she won't even begin moving and grooving? There's no way for a new town to sustain the moving and grooving if she never starts. Cynthia will never find the funky town she seeks without if she does not first find the funky town within herself. Wake up, Cynthia.
Wow.
Yes, powerful.
I mean, sometimes people will move a new town in order to reinvent themselves. Maybe Cynthia recognizes that she is not funky enough and she wishes to be influenced by a funky environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, she could be feeling, as you described, stale and whatever the other words were that you used, but...
Apathetic. Yes.
Apathetic. But she recognizes that she's not going to do it on her own, so she's asking for help.
Yeah.
Somebody please take me to Funkytown. I need to reinvent myself.
Yeah. It's just a bit weaker than I would have hoped. It's like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. Cynthia thinks she's on some journey to a funky town, but it's all actually in her head.
Yeah.
If she asks the Good Witch of the North for help, she'll get,
Why, you stupid girl. You always had the power to be in Funkytown. Simply be more funky in your hometown and help others around you to be more funky. Before you know it, you'll find that you're the center of a funky town.
yeah. And perhaps the real funky town is the friends we've made along the way.
Well, but that's right. Perhaps Funkytown is not a physical place. Perhaps Funkytown is a state of being.
It's an ideal.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah. I did read somewhere that if you take the film The Wizard of Oz and line it up exactly with the 8-minute version of Funkytown, they do sync up very well.
Is that right?
No, I made that up.
I thought so.
But I wanted to first ask a few questions. One, why are they moving? Is this a voluntary move or a forced move?
Well, it's not right for her, for some reason.
Yes, well, that's right. But what is a town that is right for them, and who decides what's right for them? And why is their current location unsuitable?
Well, she seems to want a funky town. Like, obviously the current town's not funky enough.
Well, see, what concerns me is she says she's got to make a move. Not that she wants to make a move. She's got to make a move. Yeah.
Which means there could be external pressures. It's not really her choice.
Well, exactly. There's many reasons why people might be forced to leave their home. War, famine, natural disasters, climate change, economic hardships, or possibly persecution.
Right, she could be on the run.
Well, I'm a little concerned that given that she wants to get to Funkytown, and I would say Cynthia's probably very funky, and she wishes to express herself in a funky way and be allowed to live her funky lifestyle and carry out her funky customs and traditions.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see. So she's being unfairly persecuted.
Unfairly persecuted for her funky lifestyle, yes.
Oh, that's a possibility. Yeah, hadn't considered that.
Well, you have to look at the times in which this song was released. So by 1980, disco was on the way out.
Ah.
In America, rock was making a comeback.
Increasing intolerance to disco.
Well, disco intolerance, exactly. In fact, there was an event called the Disco Demolition Night held in July 1979.
Was it a riot? Were there deaths?
It did result in a riot. It was actually a promotional event held between baseball games at a park in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they got 50,000 people turned up compared to about 15,000 people on a regular night. And they came to see a crate of disco records being exploded by a Chicago shock jock.
Oh, my God. That's it's like a book burning.
Exactly. After the records were exploded, the crowd rushed onto the fields and there was a riot which wrecked the field.
Oh, were they madly stamping on the disco records to make sure they were completely dead and would never come back?
Well, possibly, yeah. So, I think maybe Cynthia lives in a town where the locals don't understand or approve of these funky customs. And maybe it was a very conservative, intolerant prog rock town where all the people move in odd time signatures that you can't dance to and nobody understands the need to live lives in a highly syncopated way with a prominent electric bass line.
But you say that's conservative, but that was the period after disco, so they're actually being, progressive. They're being progressive, aren't they? Surely.
Well, yeah, but progressive rock can be quite regressive. We're thinking more early 70s here, and most of their customs and traditions would be based around mellotrons and bass pedals.
I see.
So very different.
I see. So basically, all these cultures have an equal right to survive, and just because of one before and one came after the other, it shouldn't negate the previous one, or vice versa.
I just think they need to be able to live side by side.
Yes, we can't have this sort of apartheid of having disco town and prog rock town.
Well, that's right,
and no mingling between. That's nowhere to be.
Yeah,
unification.
As we're speaking, it brings me to mind of Footloose, where dancing was banned. So
good analogy.
Yes. Yeah. So maybe this is the situation we're dealing with. It's like a footloose town, and Cynthia has to leave in order to express her funky self.
Maybe all disco tracks have 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon too. Who knows?
Well, maybe.
I mean, you could even draw an analogy between, let's see, you've got women's liberation getting quite active in that decade leading up to this song.
Well, true.
You've got relations between black people and white people ongoing.
Well, there's your prog rock versus funk thing right there. Prog rock is a very white style of music, funk predominantly black.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's your race issue right there.
Oof. Gosh, that's very divisive times.
Mm.
Divided by music, skin color, culture, town. That's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot going on.
Yeah. And I'm sure there were elements of racism in the Disco Demolition Night.
Maybe Steven Spielberg should have set his West Side Story remake, set that in end of the 70s and 80s
Yes.
with disco on the decline and,
Yeah.
yeah, gang fights in the nightclubs versus
Yeah.
discos.
Mm.
What were they? The Jets and the, I don't know, Slicks and the
Yeah.
Greasers.
Sharks.
Sharks, yeah, Sharks, that rings a bell. Mm.
Yeah, lions and the wombats. I don't know. But I mean, what is interesting is that I've forgotten the name of the guy who wrote the song, Steven Greenberg.
Steven
Is that right?
Greenberg.
So he's from St. Paul, Minnesota, which may or may not be a funky town in itself. But it is right next door to Minneapolis, which is where Prince was born. And I would say he's one of the funkiest humans to ever live. So you would think that that environment was actually inherently quite funky.
Yeah, yeah, they're the Twin Cities, aren't they? Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and Prince was active at the same time as this came out. He'd already put out 2 or 3 albums, apparently.
Yeah, well, there you go.
So it was already becoming a funky town.
Exactly. Yet, they felt they had to leave.
Unless Cynthia is being portrayed by Steven Greenberg as a girl in some other town
Yes.
where there was no funkiness of any sort.
Well, that's right. Yeah.
Not even hints of funkiness.
I want to take me to Funkytown.
Like you say, she recognizes that she's not strong enough and needs someone to take her to Funkytown. And that's pretty disempowered, I think, for someone at the end of the 70s. But this song is written by a man, we have to remind ourselves,
Ah, yes.
with the very unfunky name of Steven Greenberg. And
Yes.
this is his projection of a woman at the end of the 70s, unable to move town on her own, unliberated, disempowered, constantly begging a man to take her somewhere.
Yeah.
And you'll never guess what I came across, Dave.
You're right.
Especially if you don't try. I'm sure you could guess where I'm about to go.
I'm never going to guess.
Fine, don't. But I was lucky enough to come across some draft lyrics for the chorus.
Best kind.
Yep. I mean, you'll have to imagine Cynthia singing this, but I assume this is Steven Greenberg's writing. But it's got, "Won't you control my reproductive rights? Won't you make me doubt with your gaslights? Won't you earn much more for the same job? Won't you exaggerate size of your knob?" Yeah, that's more disempowering, I think, to women right there.
Yeah.
Probably best to keep that out, but would have been nice to mix it up a bit rather than just "Won't you take me to Funkytown," which Cynthia repeats 34 times in this song.
Wow.
It's like a child trying to wear down a parent. Like, "Will you take us to Mount Splashmore? Will you take us to Mount Splashmore?"
Will you take us to Mount Splashmore? No! Will you take us to Mount Splashmore? Will you take us to Mount Splashmore? Will you take us
I do remember that. I mean, there is an even longer version of this song, which actually includes the journey to Funkytown. And in that version, she just repeats, "Are we there yet?" 34 times.
Ah, well, that's certainly the sort of childish thing this sounds like. And actually, there is, we mentioned earlier that there's some businesses called Funkytown.
Oh, yes.
There's actually a children's amusement centre called Funkytown at number 5, Al-Farabi Square, Shymkent, Kazakhstan. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's possible Steven Greenberg wrote this song because he never got to go to this funky town as a child, growing up in Minnesota, but dreaming
Ah, yes.
of an entertainment center in Kazakhstan.
Won't you take me to Kazakhstan?
Yeah, there you go. That works.
Yeah.
And he's never forgotten that hole in his childhood. And so here he's getting his trauma out in his art. So maybe it's not about a weak, childlike woman. It might be about a childlike child and their shattered dreams.
Yes. I guess it might be considered more socially acceptable to project this onto a woman than to admit that you are yourself weak in this way.
Yes. And let me tell you, this Funkytown venue, it has got dodgem cars, a ball pit, and, I quote, a super mega cool sing and dance talent contest called Minute of Fame. So all of that would keep a kid moving and grooving with some energy.
Yes.
Yeah. And it has 4 positive Google reviews. One of them has words. Hello, I really liked your entertainment center. Everything is at the highest level. Everything clean and neat. And most important thing is the children liked it. If you want to spend a weekend with your children, I advise you to visit the Funkytown Children's Entertainment Center, Shymkent. Your children will be delighted. Smiling face emoji with the red kissy hearts. So it does sound pretty good.
I want to go there now.
Won't you take me?
Yes.
After reading more about Steven Greenberg, it does seem, well, as you said, his lyrics are perhaps a bit more autobiographical. And he's really possibly the weak person that he's written about. But maybe it's more autobiographical than he realized. He has said the song highlighted his desire to leave Minneapolis for New York. Minneapolis was too white bread, and radio there was not playing the black music that he liked, so he wanted to be in New York. But just like Cynthia sings, he might talk about it, but he never moved from Minnesota, and he later became a website designer there.
Yes.
So, yeah, he seems ultimately just as unliberated as the woman that he imagined in his lyrics.
Yes. And actually, I think it passed through the generations too, because his son took part in like an MTV documentary series about becoming a rapper, I think,
or some sort of DJ.
Yeah, something along those. Yeah. But he ended up as an architect. So, yeah, not that funky.
It's nice that they both pursued their dreams up to a point anyway.
Yeah.
Even though Greenberg has said that it was about his desire to leave Minneapolis for New York, we often don't believe what the writers say later. They always like to claim some meaning later from a revisionist standpoint, often many years later, because the artist is, after all, just a vessel for their subconscious muse, and we just can't always trust them to explain these things.
Yes.
Yeah, we know better. And so it was. I was wondering also, in the opening lines, the vocoder effect on Cynthia's voice. Yeah. That lends an alien quality to those first few lines, initiating the desire for Cynthia to move or spread to a new town. I'm thinking here about Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the classic Donald Sutherland, Jeff Goldblum movie that it came out just the year before in 1978. So it would have been on Steven Greenberg's mind. He might actually have Cynthia portraying here a girl who's been infected with alien DNA, and those opening lines with the sound effect could be the alien DNA sort of whispering in her subconscious to keep moving town and spreading the alien virus.
Yes.
And what sort of town does the alien want? It doesn't want her moving to a small isolated town, no. It wants her in a heavily populated town that smells funky with all those warm and vulnerable human bodies.
Yes. And is fashionable in a quirky way.
Well, sure, that's helpful too, I'm sure. Aliens appreciate good modern design.
Yeah.
The alien probably spreads quicker when she's moving and grooving on the sweaty disco dance floors as well. And halfway through the song, the cycle begins again with the vocoder voice whispering, "Time to move on again." And at the end of the song, we get a male voice that has the vocoder effect now. Won't you take me to? Won't you take me to? Sort of signaling that there's more human-alien hybrids circulating and ultimately the end of humanity.
Well, that could be a thing. I also wanted to address the vocoder.
Yes.
And also the end of humanity.
Right.
But it did remind me of the vocals in Believe by Cher.
Oh, we've been there.
We've been there, and listeners with a good memory might remember that, in part, that song described the story of humanity living in a time where there was no love because the earth had been overtaken by robots.
Yes, I think that was your theory. Yes.
Yeah. So, and Cher was trying to coerce one of the last remaining unaltered humans to have his brain replaced by a link to ChatGPT. Well, it occurred to me that Funkytown might be a prequel of sorts to that story. Set during the rise of the robots.
Okay. So you're going robots rather than aliens.
I'm going robots rather than aliens. So the robots are moving from town to town, pillaging resources as they go. The lip sync robots have overtaken a small town and converted all the humans, but now they're low on power.
They're lip syncing robots, are they?
Well, they're the robots of Lips Inc.
Oh, right. Sorry. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, we're going to keep remembering that pun title of the band. Yeah.
Or perhaps it's Lips Incorporated, and that's a large robot manufacturing company.
Large robot lips.
Yeah. Yes. So, the robots, low on power, and unfortunately for them, as they were taking over this small town, a band of plucky rebels were trying to thwart their evil plans by destroying the local electricity substation.
I see, yes.
And the robots, having used all their battery power for the human conversions, which is quite processor intensive, will need to recharge. So this town now has no electricity supply, and it is no longer right for these robots. So they have to make a move to a new town that will allow them to keep moving and grooving with some electrical energy.
Right. So why does the robot voice turn back to human after the first couple of lines?
It's a good question. I think that reflects the transitory state between human and robo-human.
Right.
Because you think further in the song, it does return to the robot sound.
Is it like humanity within an individual human trying to reject the Borg taking over them in a Star Trek episode?
Yes, I think you may be right. And maybe it was humans who are fighting the conversion that actually destroy the electricity substation, probably dooming themselves to death in the process.
Right, yes. Like John Connor. And then the robots will have to send someone back to pre-1979 or 80 to try and take Cynthia out.
Well, there you go. Yeah. But now these robots need to communicate with the robot cloud server to talk about moving.
Oh, okay.
And to request transport to the next town. So Funkytown, the song, also provides some additional details about the electronic language the robots are using to communicate via their wireless connection. Along the lines of bleep, 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 bloop, 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 bleep, 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 bloop, which translates to, "Won't you take me to Funkytown" in robot language.
Right. And what about the jangling sort of cowbell noises?
That's just the sound of the robots as they're...
Some of their mechanical parts.
Yeah, their joints are just clanking a bit.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And of course, it will be a funky town because when they get there, they will do the robot dance once they're recharged.
Oh, that is funky.
Yeah.
That is something that appears in one of the music videos. The blonde lady, what was her name?
Doris D.
Yeah, she does a fairly decent robot dance move.
Oh, yes, I might have seen that one. She's kind of leaning over to one side.
That's right, yes. Yes, with the dangling arm.
Dangly robot, yeah.
Swinging arm from a hinge type thing. Yep.
Like a robot that needs to be recharged.
Yep, it certainly goes towards your theory, yes.
It's a warning to humanity.
Indeed.
Theories from the internet.
All right. Other theories from the internet. Over on Reddit, user Cray Wyatt, he says, Funkytown by Lips Inc. is actually about the bombing of Hiroshima.
Wow.
I know. It's a That was quite a reach I wasn't expecting.
Yes.
Due to the lingering radiation in the surrounding area, giving the place a funky smell. The US military nicknamed the site Funkytown, and Steven Greenberg wrote the song after watching a documentary about the incident.
It's interesting, but I'm not aware that you can smell radiation.
Yeah, I looked it up. Radiation itself has no smell.
Yeah.
But, not of its own, but it does create ozone.
Ah.
And if you've got a lot of radiation, as there would have been,
Yeah.
it could have created a strong ozone smell. So, plausible.
Yeah.
And that's the only other theory from the internet that I found.
Well, that's, it's a lot more profound than anything I found. I found more, I guess, speculations and comments than theories. Mm-hmm. Somebody called Sati wrote on songmeanings.com, won't you take me to Waffletown?
Oh.
Look up Flaming Death Fairies. They do a Waffletown cover. They're weird.
Okay. And did you?
I did, but all I could find was a link to a non-functional MySpace page, so not very interesting.
Oh,
Yeah.
So there was some sort of cover,
Yeah.
possibly a novelty cover, possibly
Could be.
a Weird Al style thing.
Yeah. And somebody called Richard Shaw, writing on Quora, wrote an answer to the question, what if Billy Joel did Funkytown? And that's a question I think we're all asking.
Yeah, apropos of nothing, but yeah.
Yeah. And he says it would probably be a decidedly different version, and some of this is in capitals, decidedly different version of the well-known and much-loved disco-era dance tune, spelled with a capital N, I don't know why. Okay. Instead of the funky beat, it would probably be more of a jazz expression, as is known to Billy McJoel.
Billy McJoel? Well,
Billy McJoel.
His Scottish cousin.
Yeah. Then he goes on to say, personally, I was hoping that Mr. Tiny Tim would do a version of Funkytown. Now that would have been great.
Ah, yeah.
God bless Tiny Tim.
I actually think Tiny Tim was from Minnesota as well.
Ah, well, at least there's a connection.
There you go. There's a connection.
Yeah.
And probably to Kevin Bacon as well somehow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this song has sort of slipped under people's radars, and the lyrics have gone unchallenged, largely unanalyzed.
Yeah, thank God we're here.
Wizard critics.
What?
Whispered limericks.
Sorry?
Lizard clerics. Misheard lyrics.
Misheard lyrics in this song, as reported at kissthisguy.com and amiright.com. Town to keep me movin', keep me groovin' with some energy. This was heard as, gotta keep on movin', keep on sleepin' with your enemy?
Uh-huh, yep.
Yeah, like maybe they thought this song was about some sort of spy drama. And this same lyric, was also heard as, keep me movin', keep me groovin' with stability. Which, safety first.
Yeah, I think it's important to be stable if you're going to be grooving, even if you've got to wear stabilizing wheels to enable you to do so.
Yeah, and especially important if you're on the disco floor in platform heels, very precarious.
Yes.
Stay stable. Hold hands with a buddy.
That's right. Use the extra wide platform heels so you don't fall over sideways.
That's a good idea.
Or just stand on a platform.
But that would make you even more higher and be more precarious, probably.
I guess. But if you're wearing sand shoes and standing on a platform.
Stand in a trench, I think, in the disco floor. Much safer. Dig a trench.
Yeah, that's a trip hazard for others.
Well, if everybody's in a trench of some sort.
It's a minefield.
It's complicated.
But don't do it in a minefield.
No, don't dig any trenches in a minefield. Under no circumstances.
Talk about it, talk about it, talk about it, talk about it.
Talk about it, talk about it, talk about it. One user's kids heard that as just in time for Easter. Chocolate bunny, chocolate bunny, chocolate bunny. That's how those kids sang it.
Yeah. I had that line as taco butt, taco butt, taco butt moving.
Yeah, I think I saw that one, but also taco party, taco party, taco party, which I think fits better.
Oh, yes.
And
yes.
Yeah, that appeals to me more than chocolate bunnies.
Yeah.
Love a good
or
taco.
Taco Bell, Taco Bell, Taco Bell, ooh, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I think taco party's got the right number of syllables there, though.
That's true, yeah.
The syncopation just works really well, yeah. But, all fair enough.
Yeah.
Gotta move on.
Gotta move on. that little line.
Mm.
This was heard as goddamn Mulan, like somebody who was upset about the Disney movie Mulan being, probably too goddamn woke.
Yeah.
Goddamn Mulan. It was also heard as got a new gun, and even Simon Le Bon. Simon Le Bon.
Yeah, I got, it's got here, I got a new bra.
Got a new bra.
I got a new bra.
Bra
Yeah.
and on.
It's got the right number of syllables. That's best you can say for it. Yeah.
Fair enough, yeah. But Simon Le Bon probably, he could take you to Funkytown. Although he's probably even whiter than Steven Greenberg.
Yeah.
So perhaps not.
If Funkytown is a yacht in the Bahamas, then he could take you there.
He could take you to Yacht Rock.
Yes.
It's notable but trivial. It's trivial but still notable. It's notable trivial.
All right. In 1976, Cynthia Johnson was crowned Miss Black Minnesota. So she's a singer and a looker, but she was still not invited to do either of the two music videos that I saw.
Oh, so she's not one of the three black women in a discotheque then?
No, she's not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry, I got totally the wrong impression.
Yeah, I can see how you would.
Yeah.
Although, if you thought she was Doris Day, you'd be well unreasonably wrong.
So she was the very, very white blonde woman
Yes.
who appeared in German video clips.
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
There's no way that's Cynthia. No.
No.
So Cynthia left the group in 1981. So there might have been a falling out. Her own website, though, Cynthia Johnson has a website. Her own website's front page gives her bio, which ends with, strange fact, Johnson was never asked to perform a video of Funkytown. All of the earlier Funkytown music videos showed other women using her original recording without her authorization.
Well.
Johnson, the true Miss Funkytown, did not appear in any of the earlier videos.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's really made a point of saying that. And I also saw an interview with Minneapolis St. Paul magazine where Cynthia is quoted, "It felt malicious. Who puts strangers in a video and not the lead vocalist? Plus, not being considered for the LP cover and instead opting to have white cartoon faces on the album cover." Which, I did see those album cover faces. Did you? With the sort of Andy Warhol style stencil faces with light beams coming out of their mouth. Yes, definitely not Cynthia there either.
See, I didn't read that. I had totally the wrong impression. I thought she was one of the. I thought she was the one that appeared to be singing in the what's labelled as the official music video.
No, that woman was just lip syncing the lip sync. Lip syncing the thing by lip sync. Yes.
See, it's Lips Incorporated. It's a big faceless corporation.
It's like it's already been taken over by alien DNA, and every white and black person is really just the same hive mind creature. Could be anyone. Everyone has the same identity.
Yep. All lip syncing to the same tune.
Yes. Cynthia's website also says, "Stay tuned for Cynthia's autobiography, From Funkytown to Higher Ground." But the site doesn't seem to have been updated since 2018. And I'm guessing the lawyers will need to have a good look at what she's written.
Yes.
Just getting a bit of an inkling that there's been a bit of a falling out. So, who knows if that one will ever be published. 6 years later than the original, Australian group Pseudo Echo.
Yes.
They managed to cut 3 minutes from the original song length for their rock-style cover, which was very successful again around the world. Australia's own.
Won't you take me to Funkytown?
Pseudo Echo.
I would probably say that most listeners in Australia would be at least as familiar with this version as they would with the original.
Yeah, actually, I have to admit that this was the Funkytown that I grew up with, the Pseudo Echo version.
Yes.
Only later listening to music played in grocery stores, your Woolworths, that I probably heard the original version or some cut down version of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seemed like a really weird move for Pseudo Echo. I don't know if you were familiar with Pseudo Echo in the early 80s at all.
I'm familiar with their name. I can't remember. I'm sure I know a couple of their other songs if I heard them.
Yeah, but they started off as a really kind of serious, po-faced, new wavy synth-based group with frosted tips in their hair and conceptual music videos where people, for some reason, wear masks, then appear and disappear from rocky landscapes for no real reason.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So I was quite surprised when they reappeared with this
They went sort of rock
cover of a disco. Yeah, very odd. Seems to have done well for them, though.
Yes, it's done better than anything else they've done.
And at least they appeared in their own music video, so that's one step up on Cynthia.
Well, yes. There's 75 different cover versions, adaptations, and remixes of this song. One in the unlikely style of bluegrass.
Won't you take me down to Funkytown?
By the Tanqueray Cowboys.
Ah, yes. You sent that one to me. I was quite impressed with that. I thought it was rather neat.
Yeah. I haven't heard a lot of bluegrass over the years, so it seemed extra novel.
Yeah.
I came across a nice Korean language version from 1980. But I guess all of these sort of songs, these big hit songs, get translated into most languages.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was cute to hear a Korean one.
Yeah. It's been in movies. I think the original recording was in Shrek 2.
Yes, I did see a clip of that. Yep.
And a version by St. Vincent is in the film The Minions, Rise of Gru, which I've never seen.
Oh, God. And, of course, Alvin and the Chipmunks have a version
yes,
of this song.
The other classic version.
Yeah. Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And the other odd one that I saw was a kind of sweeping orchestral version recorded for an ad for a nuclear energy company in France.
Oh, I think I heard about an ad, but I didn't hear it or know that it was like a full orchestra version. I'll have to look that one up. Maybe I'll play a bit of it right here once I've found it. There's a pretty dodgy parody of this song called Bargain Town, sung as a duet by two old Jewish characters arguing about prices.
Not racist at all.
Oy vey.
Oh.
Schmucks. There was also a much better parody version called Trumpet Sound, which has clever lyrics about the biblical prophecy of the rapture. And that's by a Christian parody band called Apologetics. They don't parody Christians, they are Christians parodying secular songs.
So they're
surprisingly good.
They take secular songs and make them into Christian songs. Is that what they're doing?
Yes, with lots of biblical references. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it's niche, but good on them.
It's cleverly done. It's just nice to see Christians being humorous. For a change. Anything else on Funkytown, Dave?
I think I'm done.
Well, we've talked about it. Got to move on. Got to remind you to subscribe, follow, rate, review, all that palaver. Maybe help fund these important investigations with a paid subscription, like Jenny does. And send us a speakpipe.com/lyrics with your own thoughts for a future episode.
Yeah.
But until then, bye-bye.
Bye now.
Lyrics of the Lost.